Welcome to the Maguire podcast. My name is Brian Cooper. I am the Vice President of Business Development at Maguire and your host for this podcast. At Maguire, we've been helping to store and protect quality water for over 100 years. On this episode, our guest is Kristin Bean, the Executive Director of the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. She joined the organization in January of 2022 and was promoted to Executive Director in April of 2023. Before her time with AIRW, Kristin spent several years handling high-level communications, as well as overseeing staff and several programs for a large municipality. She has a Bachelor of Science in Resort and Hospitality Management from Florida Gulf Coast University. Kristin, welcome to the Maguire podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. Who are you? When were you founded? What are your mission and goals? Give us the background.
Okay, I love it. So we are a 501c6 nonprofit organization based in Indiana that assists and supports the rural communities, rural utilities throughout the state through technical assistance, on-site technical assistance, training, education, resources. And we have a focus on rural communities, so populations of 10,000 or less. However, we also support larger communities as well. One of our larger utilities that's a member is City of Fort Wayne, which is one of the largest in the state. So we support small and large utilities throughout the state through all those things. We were incorporated on April 8th, 1982. So we're 42 years old, but we've been around a little bit. So and those are some of the main things we do.
Let's talk about members. Yeah. Who are you talked about the members you serve being communities or systems of 10,000 or less. Why is it important that your organization is focused on members of that size?
Yeah, so this kind of, as you know, rural and small communities have limited resources when it comes to a variety of things, whether it's, access to funding, access to staffing, understanding regulations. Their time is limited, their staff's limited, their financial capacity is limited. So having a technical assistance provider like the Alliance, like us, we're able to, be a resource for them, for these utilities that may not know where to go, not know, bridge the gap between information, and be able to connect them with resources that'll better assist them, whether it's, hey, how do I find funding to help us, rebuild infrastructure, or, hey, we have a leak in our community. We don't know who to go to. We don't know what to do, things of that nature. I mean, it runs the gamut of things that, so, why we really exist, why we were founded is to assist these rural communities, these small communities that may not have the ability to fulfill their full needs. And so we kind of come in and are able to assist with that. A big thing besides the technical assistance is the training. As you know, operators, those that are running plants are required to have certifications, and we provide a ton of training throughout the year to assist in keeping operators up with their continued education, whether it's our conferences or one-day trainings. We even will come on site to even some of our larger communities and provide like a contract training where we're able to provide specialized training for a larger community or things of that nature.
So you've been in the executive director role for a couple of years now. What does that look like? What are some of the cool things? What are the things you're excited about that are going on at the Alliance right now?
Oh, gosh. I'm excited about a lot of things. I think, internally, I'll start with that because, we've grown a lot in the last few years. And that is a joint effort with so many people and also just the foundation that we were built on too. It's just been a growth. We've been in a growth mindset for a while now. So internally, we won an awesome training award through our national organization a couple years ago. And one thing that I've looked at expanding here is increasing our internal training. We're a training provider through and through, and I wanted us to take a deep look inside and see, like, how are we best preparing our staff to be able to assist these communities in training? So we're doing a lot more training internally. We're working on expanding our scope of services, so and reducing our dependency on federal programs that we have, and to be able to create more services. We're looking at possibly creating like a GIS service program. We're trying to add on to benefits that our members have and expanding that, and definitely some of the services that we provide. We're also, one of the things I'm really excited about is we've been expanding our legislative work. So we hired a lobbyist, Bose Public Affairs Group, this past year was our first year with them. And we have really been expanding our footprint in being able to have advocacy for rural communities. So alongside myself, which I became a registered lobbyist this year as well, we are working on having discussions that better speak on behalf of our rural communities that, again, have limited resources, don't have maybe the voice or the ability to go down to the state house and talk to legislators about their needs and things like that. So we've revamped an event that we're doing. I don't know if you ever heard of our leadership summit that we used to do. We're rebranding it, revamping it. It's going to be called the Utility Leadership and Legislative Summit. And this will be January 29th and 30th. The first day is going to be called Indiana Rural Water Day, and we are inviting all the state legislators and our members to come and meet with their legislator, have some lunch, and talk about their challenges and their needs, and ways that in advocating for rural communities. And so we're excited about that. And then the next day, January 30th, we'll be at the Built Well in Indianapolis, and we're going to be all kinds of leadership and legislative topics, roundtables, and a variety of people that'll be there to just talk through things that'll best assist leaders in the utility space. So I'm really excited about that.
Why is that leadership piece so important, especially when you talk about rural utilities and the people who work in them? Because I think that's a place where in the past, that's kind of been, that leadership piece has been overlooked. It's, can you do the job or can't you do the job? And not a lot in that leadership space. So why is that so good for your members?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons it is. I think, to your point, leadership in general, I mean, you talk about the utility space, you talk about in life, there's a lot of places that don't really give people the ability or the training to become a manager or an overseer of something, right? You just kind of fall into it a lot. Some people just fall into it and they're like, can you be a manager? Like, there's a lot of things that go into it besides the skills and things like that. You have to be, a people manager. You have to be able to talk to people, potentially discipline people, or hope that should be the last thing you have to do. But, there's a lot of things that go into that. And specifically in the utility space, I think, leadership encompasses more than just maybe the superintendent. You're talking about board and council members. You're talking about everybody that's involved in the decision-making process. And I think, the utility space is such a niche thing. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm managing, XYZ. There are significant compliance, regulatory requirements, and things that are just not necessarily things that you see in every space, right? And so the leadership aspect is even more important in this world, because you are making decisions that can impact an entire community, quality of life, economic development. Everything that goes into a community is impacted by the quality of the water and wastewater. And I think a lot of people, with the world now, with how regulations are, I think more and more people are starting to see that, but I don't think they understand the depth of it. And I don't, I'm hoping that this continues to be a common topic, not because of, all the headlines and things about water, but just because of the importance of it water is life, really. So, and it's actually a conversation we've had here. One of the legislative things that we're working on is expanding our footprint with making sure board members, utility boards understand what goes into being, what the requirements of, and making decisions that benefit a community and to properly run a water or wastewater plant. And I think, a lot of these people that are making decisions likely never worked or even maybe stepped foot inside of the confines of a utility. And so you have people making those decisions that may really not understand what actually goes into that. Does that resonate?
Yeah, that resonates perfectly. And that kind of leads me into my next discussion around, we've talked about the exciting things that are going on. Now, what are some of the areas where you're facing challenges or things that you need to do in the future? Or what are some of those things?
Well, there's definitely a few that come to mind. Like I just said, one of these things is gaps in understanding with, it's one thing that we hear constantly is just, our board members don't necessarily understand, we need to replace this. We need to replace this pump. This lift station's having an issue. We're trying to bridge that gap. We're actually working on creating a board training that will be able to be utilized to help bridge that gap. So that's something that we're working on with our lobbying group. And so that's one of the things. One of the other huge things that's going on is lack of funding for infrastructure replacements. And right now we actually, and that's on a federal level. I think that's one of the things that we have heard is, the bipartisan infrastructure law is this one size fits all. And it's really not. There's a ton of communities, particularly small and rural communities, that have had no ability to access that funding, and they need more resources. They need more grants. They need a better spread of loans and grants and things like that to support the needs. There's crumbling infrastructure all across Indiana right now, and there's not enough funding to replace it all. One of the things that we are working on, it's really a National Rural Water Association campaign, it's called Rural Water Strong. We just came out with a video here in Indiana, 2 communities, Frankton and Eaton, got to talk to council members of theirs about the impact that the funding through USDA's rural development was able to provide them. And really just even found, they're going to continue to have that need, and their funding there has been cut significantly, and it's at risk of future cuts. And so we are trying to spread the message to legislators that this is a need and it's not going away, and cutting it is not helping anything. And so that is definitely the funding of infrastructure replacements and things like that is probably one of the biggest issues that we are currently facing.
Let's talk about workforce. How is workforce look in Indiana when it comes to water and wastewater operators and public works professionals?
Yes, that's another issue, 100%. Another issue that we are trying to work diligently through. Again, it's one of those things it's not going to go away. You may be aware of our apprenticeship program. Really excited to share this, actually, is another exciting thing going on here. We were just recognized by the Department of Labor as an apprenticeship ambassador. So we've joined, I think when they first announced that there were only 300 something this past year, 300 employers that were classified under this ambassador status. And so we've joined the ranks of that group. So that's been exciting. We have nearly 70, I think we have around 70 apprentices currently in that program. That's a 2-year program. They obtain 4,000 on-the-job training hours at minimum, and there's I believe it's 288 hours of technical instruction. We have a gentleman named Donald Papey. He's our apprenticeship training director. And so they're getting real life instruction. Honestly, I call him Professor Papey because that's really what he is and what he does for us. So yes, it is a problem. It's it's an issue, a challenge that we are working through diligently. We are trying to spread the message across the state to these employers that they need to, and we're working right alongside them to bring more people into the workforce. Here at the Alliance, our apprenticeship coordinator, Kelly Gardner, she's all over the state attending career fairs and youth fairs and or youth career fairs and STEM programs, anything we can kind of get our hands on to relay the message of how wonderful a career in water and wastewater operations can be. It's an essential field, and that's one thing I think in the constant, since I've been a working professional, I feel like the job market just goes up and down and up and down. Being a water and wastewater operator, that is something that will always be a need. You know?
It's always going to be in demand. We need water and wastewater services.
Right. And so, that's one thing we are trying to spread the message. I've even gone to some career fairs with her and things like that to talk to, I think a big thing is the education. A lot of people, even several of my family members that are operators, didn't know that it was even an option until they kind of became adults and were like, oh, they kind of fell into it. And I think if we get the message spread earlier on and people have those experiences where they see, wow, this is a viable career option for me. This is not only is it essential, but I think a lot of people now in the work environment, I know I feel this, I want to have purpose in what I'm doing. I don't just want to collect a paycheck. A lot of people are driven now by purpose and meaning, and this is the ultimate profession for that. You are providing, something, I was going to say intangible. I know it's a little tangible, but it really is an intangible thing, being able to provide that for a community. So really just being, we're working with so many different partners to share this field as an opportunity for people. And also, alongside that is making sure that these communities and decision makers that have the ability to provide, paychecks and benefits and things like that are properly taking care of those people at the same time. So there's an education piece to that too, because there are still communities that can't provide benefits. And as you know, we human beings need insurance. We need to be able to put food on the table for our families and things like that. So there's a lot going on with that. There's really not a one size fits all, but we definitely want to continue to spread the message of that program.
Well, and I think that's important too, because you talk about the different sizes of communities you work with. You kind of run the gamut. And so each one of them has a unique need that is unique to them in this equation of having certified water operators, because I think a lot of times people don't understand that each system has to have a certified water operator to run that system.
100%. I think, that knowledge, we're working as much as we can to bridge that gap. And I know this program is, we are recognized by the Department of Labor. And we also, our national office, National Rural Water Association, has really helped guide this program to be what it is. And so we are, there's many other states that are also doing this program as well. So
no, that's great. So what else is exciting, and what are you looking for on the horizon? On the call before we got going, you said you started some strategic planning, which is exciting. So where are we going? Where's the Alliance going?
Oh, this is fun. You may be hearing this a little bit here first if you're listening to this. So
right, breaking news right here.
We did the board and our leadership, myself, our deputy director, met with our board, and we are working on coming up with, we have a strategic plan that we are working on, implementing as effectively as possible. And the thing with strategic planning is you don't want to come up with, a million new things that you're not already doing, because that's just setting yourself up for failure. You want to continue doing some of the things that you're already doing really effectively, maybe expand upon them, maybe adjust them as you need. And that's the cool thing about strategic planning, is really just kind of like putting it on paper sometimes and outlining how you're going to do that. So I'll tell you, one of the top things is a new office space / training facility for the Alliance. So right now, if you're not familiar, we have an office that is an old house in downtown Franklin, Indiana. It's very quaint and it's cute. And it served its need. We've had it for a long time, and it served its need probably up until a few years ago, really, a couple years ago. We have since outgrown that space. We can no longer have meetings there. I know when I first started, we were having meetings at this, square table, and we were all just kind of crammed in there. And when we'd have lunch, we'd be hitting each other's elbows and stuff. And now we've either been asking utilities to have our staff meetings there, or we would do it at a local library or things like that. But so we are, the goal is to, in the next 5 years, have kind of a full plan laid out of like, we're going to sell the house and, build it where we're going to be and what's that going to look like in plans, and be able to possibly move in to that space, whatever that looks like in 5 years from now. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that, but creating not only a space for our staff to meet and to be able to get work done, but also to be able to host trainings and things like that there. We're, ideally probably still in a central location, but maybe not quite like in the city. We like, where we're at in Franklin, it's a beautiful little downtown community. So that's one of the things on the strategic plan, which I think that's probably one of my most exciting things I'm really, looking forward to. One of the other things is to expand, like I was saying, some of these things we're already kind of working on, expanding our scope of services, reducing our dependency on some of our federal programming, and be able to continue providing the best quality services to our members and utilities, and also find out where they have gaps in needs, and how we can maybe meet those needs, and or better connect them to our associate members that have those needs too. So that's definitely one. Another one, a big thing for, an internal thing for me as an executive director is continuing to retain our staff and be able to provide just an awesome, wholesome workplace that, make sure that they're taken care of and they're in a great work environment. I think, and that's one of the things we hear with our, a lot of our utility members is that they may not, some of them don't love their, the working environment that they're in, the culture that they're working in. And I think that starts from within, that's one of my biggest things is for creating a really great culture for our staff. So continuing to retain those. And that was awesome at the board that they wanted that as to be a part of their strategic plan, because I think that's not like it's an afterthought. Retaining staff, I feel like, is always an afterthought. And for me, that's really important. So that's another thing that's on there.
Awesome, Kristin. Well, it sounds like there's some super amazing things going on at the Alliance, and it looks like you guys are setting yourself up for some really great success in the future. So just want to say thank you for being on the podcast today. Yeah,
thank you. I really appreciate it.
Remember, you can always connect with us by going to our website, maguirewater.com. You can ask questions by sending us an email at info@maguirewater.com, or you can follow or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us on the Maguire Podcast.